Hi there, my name's Catherine and this is my channel So Much Sewing. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me, and if you have been here before, then thank you very much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. Today's video is about a recent make. It's about a follow-up to a previous make, and it's about a work in progress at the moment for the Sew Wrapped challenge. So if you can hear those noises in the background, I'm sorry. That is one of my dogs mugging the cat's bowl after the cats have finished eating their dinner. She's just trying to get every little last bit of goodness out of there. So she is pushing it all around the floor and making a heck of a noise. So I do apologize for that. I'm going to start with what I'm wearing today, which is my recent make, and it is the Cashmere Wexford dress. That was a big clank, sorry, which I have mashed up with another Cashmere pattern, the Carlisle, with the Carlisle sleeves. So this is the Cashmere Wexford dress and top. Obviously you can see it is very full through here. It's got some lovely shaping. It's just really nice on the body. What I've done is I have lengthened it, and I actually think when I make it again I will make it a little bit longer. I think it's actually just ended up a bit of an odd length on me, but oh well. I'm pretty happy with it. But anyway, so what I did is I lengthened the top and I put the Carlisle sleeves in. So I'll put a picture of the Carlisle up here so you can see that. And I mean, you can get a pretty good idea here. You can see the puff sleeves on it, which I really love. Another thing I really love about this top is I just really like the neckline. I think it's come out very well. I've top stitched all around here. I've top stitched on the sleeve band that I've put in here. With the Carlisle sleeves, what I did was I just cut it at the lengthen and shorten line, and I made them into very long short sleeves. I'm sure I will have been putting pictures up by now of me in the dress, and I just really love it. I made it in this cotton knit that with heaps of stretch that I got from the Dahlia Sewciety. She still has some of this, I believe, so I'll link it below for you just in case you fancy getting some yourself. But it's got all sorts of really nice colors. I hope they're coming out in the video. There's all sorts of sort of, yeah, there's all sorts of sort of, I can't explain them. Hopefully you can see they're almost sort of a pinky tone to them and some earthy tones, and it's got a sparkle to it. And when I first got this fabric I thought, oh gosh, it's actually quite snuggly, and I was wanting this for a summer dress. It's actually very snuggly, so I think this would be great for a long sleeved make as well. It would be fantastic for that, bit of a snuggly layer. And I did think it might be too warm for the summer, but I've worn it to work a couple of times and we have our air conditioning turned down quite low, so it's really quite chilly in the office, and I just find that the longer sleeve is very useful in the chilly office conditions. Hiya, it's me. Sorry to bust in on the video, but I didn't give you the measurements for the Wexford top, the top dress. So the Cashmere pattern is available in sizes 0 to 32, and that goes from a bust of 33 inches and a hip of 35 inches up to a bust of 60 inches and a hip of 62 inches. And so what that equals in centimeters is a bust of 84 centimeters and a hip of 89 centimeters to a bust of 152 centimeters and a hip of 157 centimeters. And so I think I probably mentioned that my measurements put me smack bang in on a size 14 for the bust and for the hip. But for the waist, I'm in between a 14 and a 16. But because the finished garment measurements, you know, it's obviously a very, very roomy garment, especially in that hip area and through the waist. I stuck with a straight 14, and so I did a 14 all the way through, and I am extremely happy with that fit. So I will put you back to the rest of the video now. I know that the Wexford top and the Carlisle top are their clubhouse patterns, and so I'm sorry, I know they're not available to everybody. You do need to belong to the clubhouse to get access to these patterns, but I pay, I think it's about $19 a month for the access level that I have, and for that you get a free pattern every month that's generally not available to the general public on the website, the shop part of Cashmere. Although one month they did give away the Stanton hoodie with an expansion pack, which turned it into a dress and put some different features on it. But generally the patterns are not available on the shop. So yeah, I do apologize that not everybody's going to have access to this, but I personally find that it's worth the $19 per month for me, because I've actually made several of their patterns. I've made this Wexford, and of course used the Carlisle. And I have also made the Elton blouse, which I then hacked into a dress. So I'll put pictures of both those things here for you. So I've found that the free patterns that you get with this monthly subscription are actually, they've been really useful for me. So I'm really happy to keep that subscription going for a while. This is the next part of my video where I talk to you about an update to a previous make of mine. This is the Pattern Emporium Sweet Cheeks that I made out of a stretch cotton lace. I did put it in a video and I called it the worst make in the history of makes, because the fabric just kept ripping. You can see it's a lace. Well, there's a bit of fluff there, whoops. But you can see it's lace, but it just kept ripping every time I tried to sew the hemband on, the bottom hemband. It just kept ripping all the way up the top, and I just had a heck of a time with it. I did eventually get it done, and sorry, I've got a dog harassing me for some pats here. I did eventually get the top completed, and as I say, I called it the worst make in the history of makes. But afterwards, I actually started wearing it. I found it was really comfortable to wear, and I did wear it several times. But now for the update. So you can see my joy didn't last. It's absolutely, well, as they say in New Zealand, it's munted. And that just means it's broken beyond repair. And obviously I can't wear it anymore, and I'm okay with that. I gave it a good go, and I did get some wear out of it. You know, you can't win all the time. And actually, thinking about it, it might have been my fault, because I like to treat my fabric mean. And so what I mean by that is I pre-wash it and dry it in the dryer before I make anything with it. And so that way, you know, I know that it will have done all its shrinking in that pre-wash process, and then after I've made the garment, then, you know, surely it's not going to shrink anymore. I generally wash and hang my items to dry once I have made them, but in that initial stage, yeah, I treat them mean so that oh, Fluffy, you are so aggressive with your love. So yeah, the theory is that if I wash it and dry it in the dryer, then it's not going to shrink anymore after I have constructed the garment. after I've constructed the garment, when I wash it, I do hang it to dry. So I'm a little bit gentler with it, you know, after I've made it. But to start off with, yeah, I like to get all the shrinkage out. So potentially the dryer damaged the elasticy bits, although the dryer doesn't damage elasticy bits. And other things, it didn't damage the elasticy bits in this fabric that I made my Wexford out of. So it's probably not my fault. It probably is the fabric, but you know, as I say, you win some, you lose some. I've got changed back into my Carlisle Wexford mashup for the rest of this video, where I'm going to talk about my current project, and it's for the Sew Wrapped Challenge. Hashtag Sew Wrapped Challenge over on Instagram. There are loads and loads and loads of prizes, and this is the first challenge that I've actually ever become involved with. I've recently been looking at the Sew Upcycle Challenge run by Karen from So Little Time and Becky from Notes from a Sewing Room, and I've really been enjoying the upcycles. They look so intentional, you know, they don't look like someone's just sort of made something else out of something that they had in their wardrobe, sort of thing. That they look like intentional garments, like that's what they always set out to make. And I've been, you know, pretty impressed with that. And so when the Sew Wrapped Challenge came along, I just thought that I would get involved with it. And so what I'm going to be doing is making the Rose Clear dress, another Cashmere pattern. This is all about Cashmere today, which is not intentional, but I guess it just goes to show I've just recently discovered a love of the Cashmere patterns. So I'm making the Rose Clear dress, and I'm making it out of this fabric. I have shown this to you before. It's a beautiful blush pink viscose crepe in a lovely animal print. And when I decided to make a wrap garment, I wondered what I was going to make, because my idea was that I really wanted to make a full length swishy dress, but I didn't have enough fabric of any one fabric to make a full length swishy wrap dress, because they take a lot of fabric. You know, you've got that whole wrap over situation in the front. Often there's, you know, gathered tears and that sort of thing, so they can be really fabric hungry. So I didn't have enough of any one fabric to be able to make a wrap dress. But then I got an email in my inbox telling me that the fabric store was having a sale. Now, I am actually on quite a strict no buy. I have some bills that I need to pay, and I'm just trying to make sure that I have a comfortable Christmas. So I really am being very strict with myself. But I did just pop over and have a look at their sale, and I found that they had more of this, and it was half price. So I just thought I could justify that, because I needed to make a wrap item. I didn't have enough fabric, and it was half price. So I already had 3 meters of it, and I purchased another 3 meters. So I've got plenty of fabric to make the Rose Clear dress, the long version with all the gathers on it. And I have started the process. I have made a couple of toiles. I knew I needed to make a toile. I didn't want to just jump on and cut into my beautiful fabric, so I knew I had to make a toile. So this is the first toile I made. I've made it out of this just viscose fabric that I had laying around, and it's just, I mean, it's a nice color, but I just knew it's not something that I was going to make into anything for myself. I have actually purchased quite a lot of fabrics over the years that I knew were just going to be toiles, and this was cheap enough, so that's the story there. So this toile, I just put one sleeve on, and I put the bodice together, did the darts, I put it on and wrapped it around me. I did actually put some bias binding on for the wrap parts, which I have since cut off and used again. But so I made the toile and wrapped it around myself, and what I found was it was very low cut. like really low cut. So I found it was too low for me to be comfortable wearing it. So what I did to fix that, on the front piece, the two front pieces, but one that you cut twice, I added 5mm here, and I added 10mm here, and I added 15mm here, just sort of, you know, graded it out. And so I did that, and I used my French curve to join up the lines. So I found a curve that fitted reasonably well. It wasn't exactly to the 5, the 10, the 15, but it worked reasonably well. And so I joined it up using my French curve. And actually, funny story, I was talking to my husband about it, and I was showing him what I have done. And I said, I've added 5mm here, 10mm here, 15mm here. And he looked at it and he said, that's not 15mm, that looks more like 18mm to me. And I went, oh, whatever, smarty pants, smarty farty. But I put the ruler on it, and sure enough, it was 18 mils. He's an engineer, and so he, you know, he's cutting things very, very precisely all day. It's what he does all day, every day. So I just thought it was really funny that he was able to eyeball and tell the difference between 15 and 18mm just by looking at it. I mean, I couldn't do that. I don't know how many of us could. So that was just quite a funny story. And so I made this fret part wider, so it had more coverage in the front. And then I made the second toile. And again, I put one sleeve on it. This time I finished it off with, ow, got a pin in it. This time I finished it off with the bias binding so I could wrap it around properly. And it definitely is a lot higher. I'm much happier with the fit. So I've just popped it on for us to have a little look at. I mean, we can see that it is higher in the front. I hope it's going to be high enough. But what I found with this was then it then started gaping quite badly. You can see on this side it's gaping. So what I did is I pinched out that much. And on my pattern piece, I sliced into the pattern piece here, going in between. There's two darts here. There's this one here and the waist dart. So I just sort of, I think I ended up slashing between those darts, and I slashed right down to where the seam line is on the pattern piece. And then I snipped the into the seam line, just leaving a little bit of a hinge. And then the two pieces, I just overlapped like that on the pattern piece. And so, you know, shortened the front flap that way. So I then, you know, cut it out again, and that is the toile. Sorry, it's not a toile anymore. That is the item I'm working on. No more toiles. So I'm hoping that it works. I think it's going to be a lot better. I've probably got more fabric, enough fabric to cut out another one out of my good fabric if I absolutely have to, but I'm hoping that it's going to work properly. I've been toying with raising the waistline because it sits directly on my waist, and I'm not sure that that is the best place for me because I do have a pooch. And so if it's sitting directly on my waist and it's very slim fitting, you know, firm fitting around my waist, then it might sort of out a bit underneath it. So I don't know if that's actually going to be right. I'm wondering if I should have raised it up a little bit, but I'm not mucking around with it anymore. I'm going to give it a go. Like I say, I can probably cut out more bodice pieces if I have to. I'm sure I've got enough fabric to do that, but I think it's going to be okay. Once I put the skirt on, you know, the seam allowance is going to take up a lot of that. It's going to raise it up. The seam allowance is 12mm, so that's a reasonable amount to raise it up. Surprise, here I am again. Once again, I'm completely rubbish, and I didn't give you the measurements for the rose clear dress. And please excuse me, I'm just in my old slops and I'm covered in dog fur, and you know, this is me. But anyway, so the actual measurements are the same for the rose clear as they are for the Wexford top. So again, bust 33 inches or 84 centimeters, hip of 35 inches or 89 centimeters for the smaller size, and the larger size bust of 60 or 152 centimeters, and a hip of 62 inches or 157 centimeters. So just the same. But what I did find interesting is that the finished garment measurements for the rose clear in the bust anyway are just exactly the body measurements. So there's no wearing ease in the bust there at all, which I find interesting. And I guess it kind of explains why it's such a snug fit. I suppose it might need to be a snug fit because of the wrap nature of the garment, but I'm guessing that all will be revealed to me as I progress through the making process. But I just thought that was interesting. No wearing ease at all. I'm not sure that I've seen that in any other woven garment, but there you go. Again, I'll let you get back to the rest of the video. As well as altering the front piece like that, you might remember a while ago, in one of my videos, I talked about all the printed patterns that I had that I wasn't going to be able to use again because I was no longer that size, and I was a bit grumpy about it. But what I've actually ended up doing, this is one of those patterns, the rose clear dress. I had it cut out in much larger sizes, but I had that printed out on AO paper from the copy shop. But I reprinted the bodice and the sleeves at home on A4 paper and stuck them together. And so that's how I've made the bodice, doing that. I'm just going to lay the bodice on the skirt pattern. So the bodice, say that's the bottom of the bodice and the bodice is up here. I'm just going to lay it on the skirt pattern and just snip off whatever difference there is there. It's got to be okay. I mean, you don't surely have to be too accurate. As long as the skirt fits the bodice, I think we should be fine. The tears are going to be much larger than intended for my size, but I don't think that's going to matter. The more gathers the better, the swishier it'll be, right? I'll just see how it goes. Give it a go, mate, is what we say in New Zealand. Give it a whirl. So we'll see what happens there, and I'm sure it's going to work out fine. I've just got a really good feeling about this. I love the sleeve that I'm doing. I'm doing the shorter sleeve that's a bit puffy, and I'm just really, really keen to get it finished. So I think that's all for this video. I don't think I've got anything else to say. I want to thank you for being here. And if you've watched all the way through to here, thank you very much. Because in addition to subscribing and liking, seemingly watching all the way through a video is pretty important for the YouTube algorithms as well. So if you've reached all the way to this point, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying this YouTube journey. And I'm enjoying your comments. I've had some really lovely chats with people, getting some really great comments, not just great mate, you know, well done or anything like that, which are great. I really appreciate getting those. But I also have been getting lovely chatty comments from people. And so it's been really nice. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that. So as I say, that is me. I'm going now. And I will see you all again very, very soon. I do have my reveal coming up for the collaboration with Hayley from the Hay Meadow, where we've each made something out of the Secret Garden fabric from the Dahlia Sewciety bespoke box in September. In fact, you might have already seen that video before you see this one. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for this one if this one's coming after that video. And I will see you very, very soon. Thanks again. Bye now.